This is Out of the Box with your host, Jonathan Clark. Out of the Box, Sunday nights at 9 on Q1043.
Welcome back, Jonathan Clark. We're in the studio with Duff McKagan. He's got a great new album, which I'm going to hold up here. It's called Tenderness, and he's on tour now. All the tour dates, duffonline.com. And let's start off talking about that Seattle Mariners game in a week or so, June 17th, T-Mobile Park. Man, are you excited?
I am. I wish the Mariners were doing just a little better right now.
Well, they were doing right at the beginning of the season. They were doing great, right?
Wonderful. They were like 19-2.
Yeah.
We thought, okay, this is the year, and then since then they've gone like 2-25.
Oh God. Well, maybe you'll change things up when you go out there.
I'm going to do everything I can to do that.
Is it going to be a first pitch situation? They're going to what's going to happen?
I've done that. So I think Shooter and I in the band we're going to try to figure out a way to play the anthem in our style of music.
Right, yeah.
And there's some winners. We're hopefully doing some stuff with the Seattle Homeless Union Gospel Mission there, and maybe a broader thing. I threw the first pitch. I was fine with doing it. I used to be a pitcher when I was a kid, but I realized when I started throwing the ball again that was a long time ago. And then
it sucks getting old.
Well, I just thought my mechanics were all gone, and I had no location. I had nothing, and my nephew said, "Hey, Uncle Duff, we should probably throw the ball around a little bit before you do
practice,
this."
Yeah.
And then I started getting texts from all my friends, "Don't throw it in the dirt." You know, everybody's going to be filming.
Don't throw it to the left or the right, or
So I ended up, and then my daughters were there, and my wife, and then they played. I thought I could just sneak out to the mound real quick and throw it, but they darkened the whole place and started Welcome to the Jungle Seattle's own Duff McKagan. No pressure, and I threw a strike to Too Tall Jones.
Oh, okay. So
but it was across the plate.
It was a high strike.
It was not going in the dirt.
That's good.
It didn't go left or right, so I was happy with that.
Yeah, because if you really blow those, they live on the internet forever.
Ever.
You will never live it down.
Yeah.
All right, so congrats on that.
Thank you.
And you look fantastic. I don't know what your secret is. Is it the sugar-free Red Bulls? Is it like insane martial arts training on a daily basis? Like, how do you stay in shape? Well, I mean, especially when you're on the road and like foreign countries with GNR, and who knows what you can eat and where you're going.
I keep what I eat pretty normal any place I go.
Yeah.
I eat greens and I eat chicken and I work out every day.
Oh, okay. All right.
And especially after those 3.5 hour shows we do with guns, you have to get in the gym the next day. You can't lay in bed and let the soreness take over.
Well, you got to stretch probably, right?
You got to just work that. You got to work your body. And I fell into martial arts 25 years ago, and that's a major part of my life.
Right.
And
which one?
it looks like kickboxing. It's called Yukidokan. It's a way of life. It's how I think. It's how I
So it's a workout and a philosophy, really.
Yeah, it's how I father. It's how I husband. It's how I be in a band. It's how I do everything.
Is that Eastern, or is it specific? Where did it originate from? That sort of thing.
Well, it originated with my sensei Benny the Jet Urquidez.
Okay.
Who but he pulled from a bunch of different disciplines for sure. And it's just self-centering. Mind, body, and spirit, really, and I could go way down this rabbit hole with you right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure you could.
And honestly, I got daughters, and I got a wife and daughters, and I got to keep up, and my wife I love her to death, and I'm gonna keep it high and tight for my wife, because we got a long life in front of us, and our kids are grown and we're having fun right now, but thanks for. I mean, it's not today. I'm dressed up because I'm going to go to my daughter's fashion opening.
She's got a fashion. Your daughter is May, right?
This
is the younger one, right?
18.
Okay.
So she's in fashion school, and she had sewn this killer shirt and put it on Instagram, and a store in New York City said, got a hold of her, and can you do a line for us?
Whoa.
And so she has, it's all for women, 3-piece suits, gangster suits, she calls them, skirts, sweaters, corsets, I'm just so impressed with her.
It's amazing.
Her work ethic is she just grinds.
Well, give her a plug. What's the website or the Instagram that people should go look at?
She's Mae McKagan, MAE McKagan.
Okay.
You can see her clothes there. The store's I Need More in Lower East Side.
The guy from
75A Orchard Street.
Yeah.
Look at that. I remember the address.
The guy there used to be a Trash and Vaudeville, right?
Yeah, Jimmy Webb.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a really cool fashion forward line. I know about fashion because I know way too much about fashion for a 55-year-old dude, but because osmosis through my wife, she was a high fashion model and worked with all of the great designers in the 90s, in the early 90s through the 90s, and all the great, like Irving Penn, all the great photographers.
Yeah.
So through her, I've learned and been introduced to some amazing people in that world. And my daughters, through her, by osmosis, are these really cool little, like vintage store fashionista girls.
Right. Yeah.
Know what's hip. So she had an interview last night with Vogue.
Oh my God.
And it's good for them to recognize the young. Because I think she'll be at a crossroads in about 4 years, whether to keep her own company or be the head designer for Yves Saint Laurent or something.
Yeah, yeah.
She's that cool and kind of ahead of the game.
Everyone go check it out. Duff McKagan is with us. He's got a new album called Tenderness, and you have put out music a lot over the years outside of your other band, GNR. But this album I've read is really you feel this sort of really completes a thing for you. This is truly a special album for you.
It is in a lot of ways. And there was really no reason for me to put out a record right now in the middle of all this Guns N' Roses stuff that's going on. But I was at this really cool place. Our band was back together, and we had really had some really honest and great talks that kind of settled the things in the past that weren't settled. And that put us on this really cool ground with each other. And we go out on the road and we're playing these shows with all of these people coming, this unified thing in America and South America and Europe and
everywhere,
Asia, everywhere. And before we left on tour, I was watching I got sucked down that cable news.
Oh no,
thing. I really did.
It's easy to do. I did too, man.
And I read too much. It's not like I'm too smart for this, but I knew what was going on the whole time. Like, they get the panels on, the divisiveness message. This is the new news. They're going to keep you on the news and scare you, and
everything's breaking news too.
Everything's breaking all the time on every channel. It doesn't matter which one you watch.
Yeah.
And then I started following the people on Twitter that I was seeing on the news, just all the wrong things. And my wife was like, "What are you doing? I gotta stay on top of this." And we go out on the road, and I made this conscious decision to turn it all off. And Yahoo was no longer my homepage, and I muted everybody on Twitter. And when I go out on the road for the last 25 years, I go and see the places I read about in my history books, and that's what I do. I'm a real nerd on the road, and my wife is too, by the way. She'll have 11 things for us to do every day in
every
a city.
city, right?
Yeah, but we can only do 2.
But that's great, though. Yeah. Otherwise, when you started out, you'd be on tour. You'd be in and out in what, like 24 hours or something?
Well, or you just stay in the bar. Like when I was drinking, the bar, some bar, here was the scrap bar. Didn't know where I was even in the city.
I remember the scrap bar. Oh my God.
Right? Where I don't even know where it is. Still,
I don't know if it's still there anymore. Is it still there, Andrew? The scrap bar?
Probably not. But I never knew where I was in any city because I was just in some bar in a
and then you
basement.
Sleep late, and then you got to go somewhere else the next day, right?
So that was a long time ago. So now I'll plan tours around, like, okay, we're playing DC. The next city is Atlanta. Okay, what's in between? Monticello. Let's go there. It's a 2-day drive. Let's have our night off, and I'll go to Monticello. I'll go to Little Bighorn.
Right.
We're playing Minneapolis, and next city is Denver. Let's have our night off in Billings.
Right.
And I'm going to go to Little Bighorn.
Oh, man.
So I do that all over the world, and because of that, you talk to people.
Right.
And I turned off the news. I turned off all the stuff, and I'm talking to people, and I'm going from state to state, and I'm realizing there's not a red state and a blue state. There's no colors in the state. And the people are the same people that I've been talking to on tour for the last 35 years, nothing's changed. This divisiveness thing is just a tool to sell news and to
sell advertising, basically.
And to stump on. Politicians are stumping on it, and they've stumped on other things in the past, and they'll stump on something else in a few years. Don't worry about it. We'll be pissed about something else in a few years. And I read so much history that I know, like, administrations and phases, they pass. And what I realized on the tour and talking to people is we've always had each other's back. And any change in a positive way, it's been from us, from the people. And in this country, our country's specifically America, and I'm a proud American, it is we the people. We run this.
We pay for it.
We run it.
Yeah.
And we should take ownership and run it. And the, I saw the dangerousness of, like, stay in your lane. That little phase that came through. Our lane is America.
Right.
It is we the people.
Yeah.
This is our lane.
Well, you and I share the history buff thing, and my apartment has literally books stacked against each other. They're going to fall over on me one night when I'm sleeping.
Right.
Because I'm either reading them or I've read them and I haven't gotten rid of them yet or whatever. But I don't know how you feel about the director, Oliver Stone. Whether you like him or not, he had this incredible series on HBO or Showtime, I can't remember, The Untold History of America.
Right.
It's 8 seasons. It's 8 one-hour episodes.
Yes, I watched it.
Did you like it?
I did, and there's so many. There was a book too, wasn't there?
Yeah.
That takes me back to Little Bighorn. The stories we learned about Custer's last stand when I went to elementary school and junior high. That's when you learned about that, right? We learned that he got slaughtered and blah blah blah.
That's all we heard.
That's all we heard.
Yeah.
But since then, I've read so many stories about the Sioux and Indian Wars and Custer. There's a great Stephen Ambrose book about Custer and who was the Sioux? Sitting Bull.
Oh, Sitting Bull, right? Yeah.
So, and it's about their two lives being so similar from childhood all the way up to this
moment.
And the Sioux were getting chased more north and more west and more north, and their people were dying, and there was this thing. And when I went to Little Bighorn, the park rangers, the national park rangers, represented the Sioux so well, and told the story. And
are they Sioux? Are the Rangers Sioux?
No.
There
was a professor there from New Orleans that did this long talk. I'm like, oh, a talk's at 4 p.m. Let's go to that. And we did the whole, you go to all the grave sites and see where the battles were. And I read enough now about Reno and Custer and all those guys. I could go down a rabbit hole on that too. I could go down a lot of rabbit holes, but
all this sort of inspired this album, right?
What inspired the album was the sense of ease that I do highlight. The opioid crisis. I read J.D. Vance's Hillbilly
There's definitely
Elegy.
commentary in the lyrics, for sure.
There's no finger pointing.
No.
There's enough of that out there.
Yeah.
I think there's real stories in here. I read some great books while I was out on the road. I talk about Parkland and Columbine, and I'm trying to do some things with this record, with the fans, with mental health awareness and homelessness. And I don't think that I probably put some money on it. The person that went into Parkland that day with the gun, or the guys that went into Columbine, or you name it.
Yeah.
Let's go down the line.
Virginia last week.
Let's go Virginia last week. What do you want?
Yeah.
I bet you they didn't wake up that morning and go, "This is a good idea." I'm sure some things happened. You always hear there was signs, and so I'm doing a thing in this with Talinda Bennington. This 5 signs that I'm hoping to actually write a curriculum around and try to get it in schools to bring awareness of signs. We could talk about the Second Amendment, but that's not my issue. My issue is this is mental health.
Yeah.
And let's find out, and let's try to get this on a broader scale so we can spot things in the 6th grade. I knew the guy in the 6th grade. That guy's a little rapey.
Yeah.
That guy's a little gunny.
Yeah.
Not in an elk hunting sort of gunny way. He's a little like something, the guy that killed his cat and gave the head to his dad for his birthday.
We can all remember somebody like that. Yeah, absolutely.
So, so I think mental health is in this country is and dare I say is this too bandied about of a term, a national emergency.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Homelessness is everywhere, and it's massive, and there's again that goes to a lot of mental health, goes to a lot of drug addiction. I've gone to VA NA meetings at Veterans Administrations, AA and NA meetings there, and you have to pass through the pharmacy line, which is like goes all the way down the hall to get through to the meeting.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so the OxyContin thing is a massive, the big pharma here. Anyhow, I'm not. This is what we got, and it is we the people. We got to take care of this. The lobbyists are 10 steps ahead of us.
Oh yeah.
So let's not blame each other. We're not divided. We're together in this thing, and the lobbyists just know. I was in punk rock bands in like 79 and 80, 81, 82, and we were railing against the man, and we knew the man then was the lobbyists. And I guess I've forgotten along the way somewhere. And so this record's sort of like that punk rock record that I should have made in 84, I guess. But it's the music's austere. It's a record I wanted to make this musically refined and austere, and like a Mark Lanigan Winding Sheets, like Johnny Thunder's acoustic record that I've wanted to make probably since I got sober, 25 years.
Right, yeah.
And I finally got to a place where instead of these subjects of this album being a book, I made it in it's a good time to make this record. It'll be gentler. The message will get through of togetherness, of tenderness, of we're in this together. You can laugh at some of this stuff. Chip Away is definitely a piss take.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a kinder, gentler way to get this message across, and going out and touring it with such a great band that I have with Shooter. Yeah. Shooter Jennings producing this record was a godsend, and he knew how to. We used his band, and once you add
great band, wow.
Great band. Do
you ever look at the pedal steel guitar player and just say, dude, how do you do that?
I don't even try to touch it. Yeah, I don't even know what he's doing. I don't know what he's doing.
It's like the limbs are all doing different things at the same time. Like, it's incredible.
And we have Aubrey Richmond who plays fiddle and sings like an angel. John Schreffler who plays pedal steel and killer electric guitar.
Yeah.
And each gig he's getting more into, like, he's coming out front and like shredding.
Yeah. Well, the show at Irving Plaza the other night was just fantastic.
Oh, you came?
Oh, I went. I was there, man. It was fantastic.
Ted Camp, the bass player, is great. Jimmy Douglas, all these guys, and then Shooter. Of course, I look over at Shooter when
playing keyboards. Yeah,
playing keyboard. But I look at him, I'm like, man, the lineage of this guy, and he's the real deal. Like,
right, outlaw country, right there, right.
I mean, he's not living under laurels or anything. He grew up this way, and he learned to play that way from when he was like 8, or 7.
I read something, and you can probably correct this rumor. Was he almost the lead singer of Velvet Revolver?
Well, so what brought him to L.A. was the Use Your Illusions records. He moved from Nashville to L.A. because he really wanted to be in a rock band. Because he wanted to rebel against his Waylon, his dad, and Jessica, his mom, Jessie Coulter, but his dad secretly was like, no. Mom didn't want him to listen to Prince or Guns N' Roses because she was pretty religious at the time,
right,
but Waylon would be like, no, check out Prince. He's a hell of a guitar player, and he's got a great story. So Velvet Revolver, we were like, oh, what about Shooter? And Shooter, I think at the time
So you met him back then, right?
Oh, I knew Shooter when he moved to
L.A.
L.A. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and I didn't know he was Waylon's son. He was in a band called Stargun, and they opened for my band Loaded.
Right.
And I got to know him then, and I was like one of 10 that you see move to a city that guy's a lifer. The other 9, they have some backup plan.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out here, they're going to go back to their backup plan.
Right.
But he's a guy that's a lifer.
Yeah.
I recognized that then. Then I, eventually learned he was Waylon's kid. That didn't really play much into it. But I do look at him now, and the things that he's produced and the records he's made. Black Ribbons is such a deep record. He just wrote Marilyn Manson's record.
Wow.
The guy's all
that's
Giorgio
the
Moroder.
end of the spectrum from the album you just did.
Totally.
To Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. So the guy's obviously.
He's in Nashville. He's just already. I think he's probably doing it right now. He just did Tanya Tucker's new record.
Oh my God.
He and Brandy produced it. So maybe right now as we're doing this, he's playing. And then he'll meet me in Chicago.
Right. Yeah.
Tonight.
Is it nice for you to do an hour and a half show? Not a almost 4-hour show, an hour and a half show where you're just playing guitar.
It's. I mean, I did that
with
bass.
Yeah.
I did that with Loaded, of course, for years.
Yeah.
Where I play guitar, so it's not completely foreign. Man, playing acoustic guitar is a new. Like you got to get
some new calluses, probably, right?
But it's not the calluses alone. It's like how do you get the acoustic guitar to sound good? And so we had to figure out.
Sound good live too.
You get the Fishman microphone for the inside of the thing, and you blend that with the bridge pickup that you can put on, and okay, and then you have to have a preamp thing. Really?
Yeah.
It's just all of this for acoustic
Can
guitar.
I just plug in my guitar?
Yeah. So, and then just playing with this different instrumentation, a fiddle and pedal steel and piano kind of, and synth and whatever Shooter's doing over there. He's like a scientist in a lab over there to my left.
But I know that you love playing the bass and you are enamored with bass players.
I really am.
And I'm wondering if you have a top 5 bass players of all time.
Paul Simonon?
Sex Pistols?
Clash.
Yeah.
John Paul Jones, Jamerson. Well, there was this guy, Randy Rampage, who was in DOA, this band that was like my kiss when I was, and if you look at pictures of him from like 78, and you look at pictures of me in like 87, you'll go, I see, because when I moved to LA, I was still a guitar player and a drummer and a bass player. I wasn't sure which one I was going to do. So when Guns started, and I'm like, I'm going to be a bass player. I was listening to Prince is one of my favorite bass players.
Yeah,
all that early stuff. His bass playing is so solid and so exactly right. Larry Graham. There's so many great bass players that I could go down the line. That Ted, the guy that's playing with me right now, is amazing. And 2 of my guitar player friends, Matt Sweeney. I don't know if you know Matt, and Mike Squires and Loaded. The other night they were at Irving Plaza, and they're like. It was all about Ted, the bass player, wasn't it? It was all, man, what's that guy's story? He's like Marshall Tucker or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you checked out Geddy Lee's Big Beautiful Book of Bass?
I have not yet. Geddy Lee's a great bass player.
It's like that thick, and you'll love it because the photos are insane. It's of his collection and interviews with some of the people that you just mentioned. Geddy, yeah.
Duck Dunn, I got to talk to him before he died. I wanted to take a lesson with him, and I was taking lessons from a bunch of people for a while. And I talked to Duck Dunn, and he was off playing some gig somewhere, and he's like, "Oh, Duff, man, I couldn't show you anything." I'm like, No, you could show me a lot, and just if we could just like sit in a room and play, man, like whatever your fee. He goes, "Oh, what you got?" You heard one of my little daughters in the background, right? He goes, "Oh, you got kids?" I said, "I got 2 daughters." Why don't you just bring your family out? We'll hang out. We'll see a show, and we'll just hang out, have dinner or something. And he passed away not too long ago, and I really regret that I didn't do that. Wow. But bass players are some really cool people too.
Yeah,
they're just cool people. And there's so many good bass players. Reggie Hamilton, I took lessons from him. Scott Schreiner from Weezer, who's like he's an MI guy. He can play like slap and do all the stuff. John Humphreys. I took lessons from all these different guys. I really love exploring that neck of the bass, and it really still intrigues me. And playing my part in Guns N' Roses, like Slash and I play off each other so much, and always have. And then, and Axl plays off. I know when he sinks into my groove. You know, he hears this thing, and he just goes, okay. And there's a thing I don't know. And if you're gonna be a bass player, if you're listening and you're young and you want to play bass, know your part in the band. You know, serve the song. Don't try to shred to serve yourself. Play with the drummer. Find yourself a good drummer that you can play well off. Don't do a fill every time the drummer does a fill. And play off your guitar player and play off your singer and play your part in the band. And to be a good band, every member, lead singer to drummer to, you know, whatever, you're all playing your part to serve the song.
That's the main thing. Serve the song.
Yeah.
You know, and there's beauty and simplicity sometimes.
There really is.
You know?
Yeah.
And that applies for everything. Vocals, guitar, drums, bass, whatever.
I'm learning to play less and less as I get better and better. Like, technically better, I'm learning to play less and less.
It's that space in between.
Yeah.
That's the important part, right?
Yeah.
I want to hold up a photo here. This is in the CD booklet right here. I'm going to show it to the camera right here. And I would think I was standing next to this lovely lady at Irving Plaza the other night. It's your wife, Susan. You dedicated a song to her that night.
Yeah.
And there was a point in the song, towards the end of the song, where you either forgot a lyric or you choked up and you couldn't finish the song, but you did finish the song eventually. What happened there?
It's a song I wrote. It's on the record. It's an answer to Falling Down. Falling Down is about the opioid crisis. It's a result of me reading J.D. Vance's Hillbilly Elegy. I wrote that song.
I've been meaning to read that too. Yeah.
Yeah. But Wasted Heart is a personal story of.
But wait, Wasted Heart is a loaded song, right?
It was, yes, right. It's a loaded song that Shooter heard, and he goes, "Can we try doing this song? I love this song." And he loves the idea of there being one personal song on this record, and it's a perfect answer of hope. It was about a guy who was me, getting through his own pill crisis with the help of a good woman. You know, when she could have went screw this guy.
Yep.
And she stayed by my side. That night, the other night, Irving Plaza. This band is so good, and it's the songs are so kind of emotional on a whole. And she hadn't seen this band yet, and I look up and I dedicated the song to her, and I said she's here somewhere. And right when I got to the last chorus, I looked up, and there she was, and she's crying.
Oh man!
And I lost it. Because we've been through so much together, and we've raised these kids who have done so well, and we're at this kind of coming out the other side, like it's just her and I now, and we're having such a good time.
Empty nesters, right?
Empty nesters, but our kids, man, we're with
of course, yeah.
But her and I are having such a good time. We've been through so much together. We have 23 years of history together now, and it's a wonderful history, and there was highs and lows and everything in between, but we're high.
Yeah.
You know, we've ended on this place, and I lost it. Yeah. So I just I've never done that on stage before.
Yeah. But the crowd was cheering because I think they had an inkling of what was going on.
I think so.
They saw you looking up, and then you kind of backed away from the mic. And then you came back.
Yeah, I looked over at Shooter and said, "I'm sorry," and he was crying. You know,
man.
So it was one of those moments that you can't make up. You know, so Wasted Heart. Yeah, it's just this song that I wrote for her about her staying by my side.
Another song you dedicated, and I think you even wrote this song, "Feel," on the new album about Scott Weiland, Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell,
and Prince.
Prince. Yeah. And that was, you got a huge round of applause for that one too. Yeah. Obviously.
But it's really on a larger scale. We all lost somebody, you know, and it's about that loss and keeping that person there next to you, whether by memory or if it's a musician, but with their music and memory and you know, Chris and we have daughters that are 2 weeks apart.
Wow.
Chris and I. And we were in Seattle at the same time. Our wives were pregnant at the same time. I have history. I've known him since I was 14. And Scott Weiland, of course, I have history. And Chester, we're good friends with he and Linda and the kids. And Prince was just this deity to me that informed my life musically for so long. And his death swept my feet out from underneath me. I didn't see that coming at all. So, but it's really about loss but keeping that person near and dear.
Yeah. I want to read from the liner notes again here, and I have to kind of zoom in here. I have to thank Slash and Axl for a lifelong of learning and an amazing shared experience of traveling this globe and immersing ourselves in so much culture. You two have taught me a ton about perseverance and standing up straight and throwing the F down, not just on stage, but in life.
Yeah.
Is that mostly about the last 3.5 years, or is it just the last 25 or whatever?
30 something?
Yeah.
30s plus, yeah.
So they're very inspiring to you.
They really are. Yeah. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those two guys, in a lot of ways. Maybe not here, period. But they taught me, how to believe in yourself and how to work hard. And
well, talk about working hard. I saw the show at the Garden. It was like 4 hours long.
Yeah.
I mean, the old Guns shows weren't that long, right?
Yeah. I think we just got a big catalog, and I think we're probably fitter than we were then. And it's an athletic thing. Those shows are athletic.
Absolutely.
We're in the gym.
It's not a sprint.
Yeah. But, you have sprints in the show. You should certainly do. So you got to pace yourself and do the whole thing. But, we could play longer. People
You're turning into Bruce Springsteen.
People
now.
stay. The thing is, people stay, and we're like, okay, well, I mean, we
could do that one.
We got like 9 more we could do, and we're into it. And we wouldn't know how to phone in a show if somebody showed us a textbook how to do it.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to. Even if somebody held a gun to our heads, we couldn't phone it in.
Yeah.
So it's always real, and every night's like 110%. It's like we're in the moment, and it's just seeing all the people that come out and seeing the unity there, and I mean, it's not just Madison Square Gardens here in New York; it's Kuala Lumpur.
Correct. Yeah.
And with women with full head coverings on with the devil horns up, rocking the hell out. Like the guy in Little Rock, Arkansas. There's no difference. Like we have so much more in common in this world with each other than
going back to what you said. Yes.
Yeah, but then what separates us by far.
Duff McKagan is his name. The new album is Tenderness. I want to play the radio edit of Chip Away, which I've been playing a lot on this show. And you played this song the other night. The crowd went nuts, and you got up to the mic and said, "Wow, I'm glad you guys know that song."
Yeah.
That's nice that people recognize my new song.
Yeah, it's always nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tell me about this song.
Chip Away. Well, it is that story of getting sucked down the cable news. I'd been reading Grant's biography by Ron Chernow. Have you read that one yet?
Did he write Hamilton or no? Is that the same guy that wrote Hamilton?
Chernow's written a bunch. I think probably, yeah.
That the Broadway show was sort of based on, I guess.
Sort of.
Yeah.
But the Grant biography, it came out, 2 years ago. I read it on the road, and it's such a huge slice of American history. It's like from 1830 to whenever Grant died, 88 or something.
Grant's tomb right up the street.
Right, exactly. So fascinating man, and fascinating times in our government and military and et cetera. Changing country from 1830 to 1890.
Big time.
A lot of changes.
Yeah.
So it's the Chip Away is meant to be just a side shot, and it's a piss take. I can say that on American radio, right?
Sure.
And I don't know. It was a fun song to write. It wrote itself again in as long as that song is. What was it? 4 minutes long. I wrote that. Yeah, I wrote that song in that amount of time.
Wow. Those are the good ones.
All of the songs on this record really wrote themselves.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a destined thing to happen.
Right.
And getting Shooter, and I had these crappy demos. I make them on my GarageBand,
Yeah.
Sent him all the files, and he loved it. And we started talking about instrumentation and whatnot, and we were on the same page. And subject matter, the band, it seemed like that they were like they played to every emotion of every song, and they're just that good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they knew the lyrics or not. And I'm learning now, like, oh, I didn't know that lyric was like Last September's.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
like Aubrey sings a harmony with me,
Mm-hmm.
and I say he took her down and choked her neck. She's like, "Oh my God, what a bastard!" And I'm like, "You didn't know that when we were recording?
Right,
those were the words?" Because I guess
I hear the lyrics.
Yeah. Oh man, that's gnarly. Okay.
Everyone go out and get the new album from Duff McKagan, Tenderness. He's on tour, and everything that he's involved with, the charities, the band, and obviously probably some Guns N' Roses stuff on there too. DuffOnline.com. And if you're in Seattle, June 17th, go to T-Mobile Park, and it's Duff McKagan night. Man.
Yeah. We're playing the Showbox June 16th.
Okay, right.
Yeah. I think we're playing a record store, Easy Street, the night after that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, listen, congrats on the fantastic new album.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Great to see you again, and I'm sure we'll see you very soon.
Cheers, man. Thanks for having me on.
This is Out of the Box with your host, Jonathan Clark. Out of the Box, Sunday nights at 9 on Q104.3.